Welcome, everybody, to Spirituality Adventures. This is a non-judgmental place to explore spirituality, and we're so glad you're here. This is a viewer and listener-supported podcast, so we greatly appreciate your support. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, share, and subscribe to any of the social media content platforms that you're using. And then if you go to our website, spiritualityadventures.com, you can make a one-time donation, or with a monthly subscription, you'll gain access to our bonus content. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Spirituality Adventures. We're glad you're here with us today. And I'm excited to introduce you to Sara Morgan. I know many of you have maybe heard her music. But if not, you're in for a treat. Sara is a singer-songwriter. She's from McGee, Arkansas. She went to Olathe South and lives in Tonganoxie. And she has been doing country music now for at least?
I'm not quite at a decade.
A decade.
Almost.
I was saying almost a decade.
Almost.
Yeah. And 2 albums out.
Mm-hmm. I've done quite a few, but I've got 2 out.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed Average Jane came out in 2018.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then Another Nail, 2021. And I'm kind of excited. I went through both your albums, but Another Nail intrigued me. I have a bunch of questions about some of your lyrics and stuff because I'm a lyric person.
Sure.
But before we do that, I like to get kind of the backstory and where you're from and some of your growing up years, things that influenced you while you were growing up. So help us out. Tell us your background, your family, where you're from, where you were born.
I was born in Monroe, Louisiana. My whole family's from that area, that like Louisiana, Sea Arc kind of area. For the
Alabama,
most part.
Arkansas, Louisiana, that whole little.
Well, not Alabama,
Okay.
just that northern Louisiana-ish area and that southeast Arkansas-ish area. That's where pretty much everybody lives there.
West of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Barely.
I like 2 minutes. When it floods, it's in the yard. But yeah, that's where I'm from. I grew up in a little circle neighborhood surrounded by cotton fields, and my teachers lived in the neighborhood.
Is that Monroe, or did you guys
in Arkansas? McGee.
You moved to McGee when you were what?
No, my mother, I don't know how she managed this, but she would drive 2.5 hours to Monroe to have each of us when she went into labor.
Oh, wow.
Because she liked the doctor. How she managed that is beyond me, because usually when kids decide they're ready to come out, they just say hello. And she did not allow that.
Wow.
So I don't know how she did that.
Wow. Yeah.
So no, born there, raised in Arkansas. But yeah, my grandparents lived down the street from me, like 3 houses. And so
how many people are in McGee?
I mean, maybe 2,500 at this point.
It's a little town,
Probably
for
less.
those of you who don't know, that's a little south and east of Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
2 hours southeast of Little Rock. It's
almost just off the Mississippi River.
Yeah,
like you
right
could
there.
have probably been to the Mississippi in what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Regularly did.
Very rural area, right?
Very, very rural.
Small town. How many people are in McGee?
I think there's probably around 2,500 now. I don't know if it's more or less
there
than
a
that
Walmart?
now. So there is an original Walmart.
Ooh.
And
population of McGee is 37.
37? All right.
Sorry.
There's there's more. There's more than when I was there, which I find very interesting. That's
So
fascinating.
an original Walmart.
So they have
Claim
the
to
old,
fame.
It's really tiny. It's not a super center. And it's been a few years now, but they replaced the old Western letters. I was so upset about that. It was just so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a Walmart.
Yeah.
It's very small.
Is there a town in Arkansas where there's not a Walmart? How small do you have to be to not have a Walmart? Like 1,000?
Probably. I don't know.
Probably 2,000. I imagine there's a break point somewhere in there.
I don't know. But the Walmart that you're thinking of is not the Walmart that they have.
Oh.
It is not Walmart's like here.
It's not big box.
No. It's I mean, when I say like old school Walmart,
Okay.
this is you can walk in, there's maybe 2 or 3 checkouts. There's no self-checkout as far as I know.
So you're talking like way back Walmart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can see both sides of the store when you walk in. There's one door in and one door out.
This is like old Sam Walton's beginning.
Yes. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's very small
Interesting.
and very old, and I love it.
Interesting.
So cute.
And tell me about your family. Your brothers and sisters.
So there's 8 kids in my family. We lost 1 when I was in high school. There are 5 siblings between my mother and my father. They got divorced when I was 10. And then my mom got remarried. He had 2 kids, and they had another one. So we're a big blended family. And
where are you at in the birth
oldest.
order? Of all of them?
There was one older than me. He passed. He was a step. And, but I mean, there's no difference once you blend a family.
Right.
So.
How old was he when he passed?
He was 19.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It was very odd to be older than he ever got to be.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
What happened with?
Car wreck.
Oh,
he was in the Navy. He was on his way onto the boat. Yeah.
I lived in Hampton, Virginia for a while.
He was in Norfolk.
I read something where he was heading to Norfolk, Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. Wow. Car wreck. Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
So random.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had a wife. They were trying to have kids, and they just found out they were going to have one, and just by the grace of God, the stress, and she managed to carry him to term, and we have this hilarious kid who acts just like him. Some things are genetic, so.
Wow. So your brothers and sisters, have they all stayed around McGee? Or
no.
Have they spread all over the place?
So I had a brother who went there and graduated high school there, but he's back now. But all of my immediate siblings live here. My mom and my stepdad live here.
Here being Kansas City?
Yes, in Kansas City.
Okay.
My dad and my grandparents live in Arkansas.
Okay.
My aunts
and you guys are all close? Fairly close?
Too close sometimes. I'm just kidding, you guys.
Well, I don't have a huge family, but I have 3 sisters, and my mom and dad are still alive, and we're all very close. And then I have a ton of nephews and nieces and great nephews and nieces.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I have a close family.
Yeah. We're together all the time.
And definitely support each other in all our ups and downs, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is.
Well, tell us about you moved at some point to Olathe, right? And that was a big transition for you.
Yeah, it was super weird because I moved up here and everyone's like, "You sound funny," and I'm like, I don't even sound like I sounded then at all, because then I probably sounded like this. I don't sound like that anymore. I don't think. You could tell me better than I could probably. But it was just strange. It was also strange because where I lived, you had communities it was actually much more diverse than moving to Kansas City. And so because it was the South, everybody went to school together. And I came up here and it was really strange to go to school. I went home because I'm 10, 11 years old, and I didn't realize what was missing. But I looked at my mom and I said, "Where's everybody else?" Because it was only white kids. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand that there was like any kind of a descriptor there. I just knew something was off from what I was used to. Like friends that I had weren't here and I couldn't make heads or tails of that. So I found this odd, even as a kid, this weird kind of city segregation going on. Yeah. But I didn't know what that was. Yeah. I wasn't able to pinpoint that until I was significantly older. So
actually Kansas City, Missouri per capita is one of the largest African-American cities in America. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you go to the suburbs, and it's changing over time. Like when I went to Park Hill in the 70s, it's a suburb of Kansas City. I can name all the African-American families that I went to school with and did sports with and all that kind of stuff, right?
Wow.
There were 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I can't because it was just a normal part of life.
Yeah. And, but if you go down to the core, I mean, there's no white people. You go to some places like you landed. Yeah. There's hardly any black people.
That was a strange transition. And I don't think people, I think people, because I've always had one foot in, I've spent half my time in both places. And so there's this notion that people coming up from the South don't have never seen, there's an odd stereotype of who Southern people are and what they're actually involved in every day. And I guess I was one of the first generations to be born completely integrated where everything was normal. And when I think about that, that's mind blowing because I didn't necessarily realize that before me, that wasn't a norm. And by the time that my parents had kids, it was. And that's awesome. But it was so strange to come up here and for some reason that was still, it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting.
That was a huge culture shock for me. Along with people thinking I was probably like, everybody makes a typical Southern joke, like, you're a redneck hillbilly, marry your mom, like stuff like that, but whatever.
Well, my mom is from Savannah, Georgia. And then I have a ton of cousins from Alabama.
My dream home.
And Georgia. So like when we do our family reunions on that side of the family, like this May, we'll be going down to Orange Beach in Alabama, and hanging out with all the relatives from Alabama and Georgia and stuff like that. So, yeah. But my dad's from Wichita, Kansas. So anyway, a little different. But tell us about your music. Did you start doing music when you were young? Tell us about your sports and then...
I decided to sing Celine Dion in the 4th grade. At a talent show in my music class. And that was when I decided I liked to sing. Actually, this goes further back. I was a flower girl in my uncle's wedding when I was 2, and they left the mics on in the choir loft. And during the prayer, I went up there, I turned it on, and I began singing. Yeah. And then my mom found me. I peed my pants right there because I was terrified. So I guess that's how far back it goes. But yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. I really got into it in college, though. Songwriting.
Were you in choir and stuff in high school?
Yeah.
And did you sing in church any at all? What's your faith background?
I grew up Southern Baptist. And I don't have any bad things to say about the church I was raised in. It was a fabulously foundational church for my family and I. The pastor we had at the time, Brother Real, was just precious. They were missionaries to, I believe, Honduras. They were just the nicest people, and it was so nice of them to come and be at that church in a little town where most people just stop to top off their tank, so it was great, actually.
Awesome. And have you continued in your faith walk, in your faith journey? Has that been a part of your life?
Oh yeah, that's pretty much what my life is centered around. Like we were talking before this, you have a shelf over here, of biblical Hebrew syntax.
We have to say this, like I have interviewed at least 60 people now on my podcast, and nobody hardly ever looks at the books, let alone notices the Hebrew books, because I was working on a PhD in the Hebrew Bible, and Sara notices and says, "This is what I'm into."
Yes,
and so
this is what I'm reading right now. So yeah, it is still
crazy. Yeah.
If I'm not writing songs, that's what I'm doing. I'm
so fascinating.
Brushing up on Greek or something like that.
That's crazy. Well, fun stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do a whole nother podcast and just talk about Hebrew stuff. I think that would be fun. Anyway.
Yeah, it would.
So, and then you played basketball.
Yeah, I played basketball. I played 5 sports pretty much year round.
That's why
my story is so stable and boring. I was never in any trouble because I didn't have time to be. Basketball, volleyball, softball, soccer, and track. I did them all. Volleyball and soccer always happen at the same time. So I get up, go to school, have one practice, change jersey, go outside, do the other one. But my parents were smart. They knew that if I stayed busy, I would not get into any trouble, and I never did.
What about what about track? What did you do in track?
The long jump, the 200. Those are the things I did. Sometimes hurdles. But
I was a distance runner, like the half mile stuff, 800, 1600 meter stuff. So.
I can't do that. I think they had me do the 800 once, and I was like, I just dig my grave. Put me in the long jump sand pit. I'm dead.
Oh, that's funny. And then what did you do after high school?
I went to college. I went to John Brown University for biblical and theological studies, and I bailed as I was ordering my cap and gown because I started writing songs, and it was fun. And I thought that if I was going to do this in any kind of way that could produce fruit, I should do it now, and I can come back and finish school whenever. School will always be there, but my youth will not. So, yeah.
Awesome. And so you say your musical career, so to speak, I mean, the beginnings of it really took root in college?
Yeah, it did.
How did that happen? Who was influencing you?
So my very first semester in college, I had a teacher who, and most of the class failed this first paper because we didn't understand how to properly cite things. And if you don't understand how to properly cite things in your bibliography, you're going to be hit with plagiarism, because that's technically what it is. And so she failed most of us for not properly citing our sources. That was probably the biggest lesson that I was ever taught. Like, you can ruin your life on a technicality. So be very intentional with your choices and what you do. And so we all got to go back, and after we learned how to properly do that, redo the paper, at the end of the semester, whatever. But that taught me how to write in a way. It taught me to pay very close attention to what I was saying, because I could sit here and I could write songs or whatever I was writing at the time,
right,
and do it to put attention on myself, or I could do it because I had a thing to say. And if I have a thing to say, it needs to be extremely precise so that it can't be interpreted in any other way.
Yeah.
And so that failure of that paper helped construct my intentions in my writing in a very real way. And at the same time that I was learning how to do all of that stuff through college, the worship pastor from the church that I had been at in Kansas City moved back to Arkansas. He'd lived in Arkansas too. And I sent him a song I wrote, and he wrote me back. And instead of saying, stay in college, you suck, like he should have said, he said, when are we going to record it? And I thought, okay. So we ended up recording an album, and I was just writing for fun. I mean,
And this was country?
I mean, kind of, but no. I called it that, but not really.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about genres really at the time. I didn't know what I was doing.
If we listened to it, what would we think?
You would think it was pop rock.
Okay.
Yeah, probably with a folk influence.
What year was this?
2012.
2012. Okay.
I think.
All right.
2012, 2013, something like that. So yeah, we spent a lot of time together. He heavily invested in me and what I did, and that kind of encouragement when you first start something, whereas most people would look at you and say, you shouldn't do that. You should do something a bit more, systematic with your life. Nobody said that to me. And so it was just this blind following and deluded, just like self-deluded confidence that I could actually do whatever it was I was doing.
Interesting.
Because no one said I couldn't. And so I just kept doing it. And it ended up becoming a thing. And so I did.
So you didn't graduate from John Brown?
No, I'm a semester shy, and I will finish it at some point. But
what did you do? Did you move somewhere to start pursuing music?
I moved to Fayetteville from Siloam Springs.
Okay.
And I worked a job in Kansas City. I would come up here. I would work 4 days straight at my job, and then nights too. And then I would go home. And for 10 days, I wrote songs and recorded. That was all I did. I did that, and I went to the local co-op for kale juice. That was it.
Serious?
That was it. And I did that for 2 years.
My God.
I would drive
That's dedication.
4 hours, and I would go to work, and then I would have all my bills paid so that I could do what I wanted to do in those 10 days.
Wow.
And I just wrote song after song after song after song.
And
that's just all I've ever done.
How did you start trying to perform? Did you start trying to record?
I never wanted to be the performer.
So you were just doing music?
Well, I enjoyed it. I forgot to eat.
Were you posting it? Were you allowing people to listen to it?
Some of it. Some of it. I put out an album, but I didn't put it out because I wanted to be on stage
But this
under
is before your
spotlight.
2018 album.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I did quite a few things before that, but
Okay.
I wanted to be, if I could be a writer, I wanted to be a writer and other people could cut my songs because I'm not interested in the notoriety that comes with the spotlight. It's
see.
brutal, and I'm not sure my skin is thick enough. Now, I haven't had
Yeah.
much of a choice as of late, but
I was listening to an interview with, is it Sia? Who's a songwriter?
I think so.
Had a similar sentiment, even though like she's like crazy talented.
But she wrote for
She
people.
really just wanted to write
Yep.
for people because she did almost the same thing.
It's just brutal, and
Yeah.
people don't put you on a pedestal to look at you. They put you there to push you off.
How did you know that it was brutal? Well, who was telling you that, or how did you know that?
I
Or
just sensed
just
it.
intuitively.
I just sensed it. I mean, because I would look at people and what they were doing, and I've always been very involved in the behind the curtains aspect of things. You
Okay.
know, clearly.
So how did
Biblical
you,
Hebrews
who
and
did-
text.
Who did you know though that like
I didn't. I just read a lot. I researched a lot, and I am also very interested, just heavily interested in finance and economics. And so when you start looking at that connected to the music industry, you realize, oh, this is not about making music. This is about making money. And that's totally fine. But if you want to be the hanger for which other artists hang their songs on, which is what singers are. If you don't write yourself, you're the hanger wearing the
Right.
clothes that someone else sewed and designed, and they're the ones making
Yeah.
the money, and you get a fee.
Right.
That's how it works. If you're going to do that, like there's a lot of things that come with that, and I just was not interested in being a hanger. I can't. Now, I kind of have ended up being that because the more I write my own music, the more that the people who have come in behind me have said, no, you're going to do it. You should do it.
who have been some of the people you've connected with, and
man.
who have you like learned from, grown with?
Jason North was the first person who ever invested in me. And he just, we're still really good buddies. I hope we get to play together again at some point.
And
He's the guy who lived in Fayetteville.
Okay.
Who devoted all of his time to, when I said I wanted to write songs, he
Okay.
just said, I will encourage you in that. And he did. And then I kind of transitioned to Kansas City, and Carl Butler took me under his wing. And I wasn't interested in it really at first because I couldn't
Tell people Carl Butler, because people know knuckleheads, and
Yeah.
just give them a little. Who's Carl Butler?
He runs Carl Butler's Gospel Lounge. It is their midweek church service on Wednesday nights at Knuckleheads.
Knuckleheads. Yeah. And he's a musician himself, singer songwriter, right?
Guitar player mainly,
Yeah.
guitar and bass player.
Some of you who remember me interviewing Jimmy Bratcher, and Jimmy knows Carl well, and plays down at Knucklehead, all that stuff.
Yeah, we
Anyway.
love Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's the best.
So that's one person. Anybody else that you started networking with?
Well,
Did you co-write with anybody?
No,
Never co-write?
no, I can't.
Okay.
It's like somebody watching me pee. I'm not going to invite you into the bathroom while I'm on the toilet.
Never heard somebody say that.
It is. It is.
That's hilarious.
I am a bit, truthfully, I'm fairly jagged around the edges emotionally. I'm not good with handling certain things. And so when I'm alone and I can sit down and write a song about it, I don't feel like I have to impress anybody else or make them feel a certain way or try to fix something. I can just have an outlet.
Interesting.
And so that is why I don't write songs so that I can put out a record so I can go on tour. I go play shows so that I can come home and write the songs. Like, it's
Interesting.
totally backwards from, I think, the way people would assume that I
Well,
would do things.
another thing, I read something else that you said that's a little bit backwards. Not really, but a little bit. You said at some point when you were performing, you realized that it wasn't about people coming to see you,
Yeah,
but you're there to see people.
100%.
I thought that's such a cool statement.
That changed my
I
performance.
love that.
Because I had always struggled to be on stage because I thought I don't want people to see me. Like, that's ugly. I don't want people to see that. No, seriously though. I mean, when you look at yourself and you really look at yourself, I mean, when somebody shines a spotlight on that, and that there's two things that happen. I can put on a persona and I can be an actress and I can put on a show, or I can just allow the light to do what it does. And that creates a really vulnerable, transparent moment for me. Because I never took acting classes, so I don't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. But I just had a moment where I was just so uncomfortable with people seeing me, because I for a long time, I was like, I don't like who I see, so why would other people? I don't want people to see that much of me. But when I realized, God was like, I don't have you there for them to look at you. Stop looking at yourself and look at the people in front of you. It changed my show. I didn't get stage fright anymore. I wasn't afraid.
Cool. No, I really love that. That's connecting. Obviously I'm a speaker, and, when I speak, I really feel like there's some kind of intuitive connection that I have with the people when I'm speaking.
Yeah.
And it is about them.
It is. It really is. Yeah. It's not about me. And when it does become about me, I've told my mom, you see this cheek, you smack it. I'll be good to go.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, but you've had some songwriters that you really love that have influenced you, even though you don't do co-writes and stuff. Who are some of the songwriters that have influenced you?
Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn, clearly. Along with one that I don't mention as often, Diane Warren is just fabulous. I mean, she is. If I had one dream as a writer, it would be to be the Diane Warren of Nashville, But Diane Warren's the Diane Warren of everywhere. So
I wasn't like a huge country. That's not been the main music I listen to, but I had a gal named Jessica Harp on here that grew up where she was in my church, but she did the Wreckers with with Michelle Branch, and so I've had Jessica here, and I've known her since she was a teenager, friends with her family, her dad, and everything. But she mentioned one time, what's the gal's name? Griffin. I'm blanking on her first name. But at any rate, just like you're mentioning this Warren person, and so I don't know who that is.
I don't want to miss a thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Every massive pop hit.
Okay.
Diane Warren wrote it for the most part.
So I got to go. Now this will make me go listen is the point. And here, because
my heart. All of those songs.
And I went and followed up on this Griffin gal, and God, she's like, it's really some great lyrics. And Patty Griffin, I'm pretty sure that's who I'm thinking of. And she's like really solid, very good. Marin, what's her name? Marin? Yeah. Marin. Anyway, there's some great songwriters in the country world.
Really are.
So powerful. Yeah, and did you open for Loretta Lynn?
I didn't. I played a pre-show gig for her in the same venue before she went on.
In Kansas City?
Yes, at the Uptown Theater.
How cool is that?
But during my gig, her son came over and he was like, "You want to go meet my mama?" I was like, "I can't understand a word you just said." And you sound like me, So I did. And he said, "Where do you want to meet her?" I said, "Wherever she wants." And so she says, "Come on with us." So I sat on her tour bus and in her little kitchenette, and she just sat there and put her little hand on mine and was like, "What do you want to know?" So she was just the sweetest, and had her handlers not been like, "You need to get out now," she would have sat there all day and that's why she still had it. I believe she was in her early 80s at the time.
Wow.
That's why she still had a barricade and people screaming at her by her tour bus. As I'm getting off, I'm going, that's why. It's her character. It's who she is that people love.
That's cool.
It's not what she does. It's who she is.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
She's awesome.
Yeah. Have you worked with other artists here in town?
In what capacity?
Just, shows, connection.
Yeah, I mean, we've
things.
played some shows together. I feel like I'm so notoriously isolated. Not as an intent, just as a part of my being. I tend to be afraid to work with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I consider what I do so great. Like, that's not it. It's just, this is my life, and it's makes me nervous to do that, to do my life with other people. At least the topical aspect of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I've played plenty of shows with lots of people locally. I haven't recorded really with anybody locally since an EP I put out in 2016. A whole bunch of people came in and worked on that with me, from, Amanda Fish, Casey Roush, Jeff Porter from the Rainmakers. A lot of people came in on that.
Okay.
And they're all just great. Like, they're just wonderful.
I need to hear the Rainmakers, I think.
Yeah, I haven't heard them in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your newest album, Another Nail. Who did you work with on, like, who helped produce or do that stuff? Because I thought it was really well done.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
It was my first Nashville record. I worked on it with a guy named Eric Kahn. He owns Independent Mastering down there on Music Row, and he's been in the business for a really long time, and he does a lot of the stuff that you hear on the radio. He does work on. And he just he mastered Average Jane. And he asked me one day, we just became friends. He had a dog. And I went to the studio to drop off a copy of the record. And he was like, nobody ever comes to the mastering studio. Nice to meet you. Like, they don't? That's ungrateful, That's weird. So, but he had a little dog. And so I just played with the dog. And we kept going back, and I would just play with the puppy. And Carl was looking around, because I'm oblivious to my surroundings most of the time, at least in that kind of musical professional sense. And sometimes that works to my advantage, sometimes it does not. But yeah, he's got all the platinum records on the wall and stuff, and I'm just not paying attention. So he asked me who was going to do my next record. I said, I don't know. And he was like, can I do it? Yes, of course you can. So,
Cool.
So yeah, he ended up doing that, and hopefully we'll do another one. I mean,
It sounds amazing.
I will relay that to him.
It really does. I mean,
agree.
I could, I listened through Average Jane, and then I listened to your new one. I mean, it's great music, but I was like going, oh man, this is really well done.
We also cut it live, which I had never done before. I cut
okay.
the whole thing live.
Yeah, there's just something that
I put on
picked.
the. Yeah.
I'm not even that technical, but I hear things. I go, oh, I like that.
Just put on the guitar and played it with the band and sang, and we were done.
So the fun song is "Church in a Bar," right?
I mean, it's kind of fun, but if you listen to the words, it's not as fun.
Yeah, well, it's still fun.
It's fun. It's
fun.
It's a very interesting message in a nice, fun package.
It's kind of like a upgraded Cheers country.
That's hilarious.
Sorry.
I love Cheers. No, that's the best compliment
Everybody
anyone's
knows
ever
your
given
name.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. By the end of the night, you know everybody's name.
Yeah. No, I'm going to take that.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the acceptance. I saw it as a metaphor for people accepting love and grace and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, Carl is preaching the gospel. That is what he's doing. But when you do that in a way that is actually centered around the words of Jesus, people, they actually do want that. Mm-hmm. What they don't want is a big mega church buying cars on their dime, which is what I'm talking about in the song, But it is a fun song. I mean, I think.
I thought it was.
My producer was like, you think people would be offended by this? I was like, nah, I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah, no, I think it. I thought it was a good.
Well, thank you.
Good one.
Thank you.
A good one.
It's really Carl's I write songs when people pass. I usually just can't help myself. And I brought that song to Carl and I said, here, I wanted you to hear this before you died.
Right.
That's always the joke.
No, that's good. Yeah. So check that one out. And then I noticed so I'm thinking, so your song on this, Another Nail, that song, A Little More Like You, those two songs, it sounds like, I mean, and I don't know if it was you or another situation you're singing about, but it sounds like you got really hurt.
Uh-huh.
And then the person that you felt hurt by doesn't give a rip.
No,
and,
not at all.
But then you're still feeling hurt, and you're like going, I wish I could be a little more like this jackass.
Just forget about it.
It doesn't seem like he even cares or she even cares or
don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be wonderful if I could pick up some of those characteristics. I would love that. Not really.
But is it really? Yeah, right.
No, I don't want to be that way.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Then we could become sociopaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
if we didn't hurt at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. Praying again. Mm-hmm. It sounded like the loss of a friend.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. And you've had, since, you've got a big family, you're close to your family. So I'm guessing that, and then you've known your husband since you were kids, basically. So you've had a fairly stable environment of friends
for the most part, yeah.
But you've gone through some hurt.
Yeah, I mean, quite a bit. I mean, every family has its issues. We have addiction in my family. We have lost a brother when I was in high school, had another younger one go through leukemia at a very young age, and then you're dealing with finances on top of that and trying to take care of all of these children when everything was great one day and it just collapses around you the next. And my parents did a great job dealing with things that the world threw at them. They really did.
I really like Praying Again.
Thank you.
I the sentiment of hadn't been praying for a while, but then you go through this hurt and you're gonna kind of surrender, sort of fresh and new.
Had to. I was like, if I keep hanging on to this, it's gonna fester and I'm gonna die inside. I can't keep doing this. Yeah.
There you go. Good stuff. Dearest. Another song about some loss.
Yeah, this whole record's about the same situation.
Is it? I wondered.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
I mean, I didn't know. And is Diane, like you spelled it, Diahn in the.
I didn't write that lyric. Okay. I didn't write that spelling out on the website. That wasn't me. So I'm not going to take credit for that.
I was just curious. Anyway, but yeah. Well, good songs, and then the whole the deceit of riches and fame theme, and being leery of all of that. And
every 15 minutes comes to an end, man. Why would you want to live in that eternally? I don't get it. Like, I cannot wait to be a has-been. That sounds awesome. The phone don't ring. I have a pool. Great. Go away.
Yeah. As long as you can pay your bills.
Yeah. And if I can't, I'll just build a tent in the woods. It's okay. It's all right.
That's what I always told myself. And I'm like going, let's see, I might have to upgrade my tent just slightly. And then
maybe an Amish cabin. I'll be fine. They're well built.
Yeah. So, well, fun stuff, man. How can people get a hold of your music? How can people find out about your touring or your shows? Tell us, help us get connected to Sara Morgan musically.
SaraMorganMusic.com. I have a Facebook page. I got all the basic stuff, and that's the handle. It's just Sara Morgan Music. And I actually have a Telegram chat where I respond I found that much easier to respond directly to people because there's not like a page and posts and all this other stuff. It's just people make a comment and I can comment right back. So I have that, and that's the same handle. But yeah.
What is a Telegram chat?
It's like a messaging app.
Okay.
But I like it because I can just contact people so directly. And there's Twitter, I don't have Twitter. I haven't had that in years. I cannot handle that place.
Do you have Instagram?
I have Instagram. I'm not on it a lot. I need to get better at it.
Facebook? Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's where I'm at most of the time.
Your website? Mm-hmm. And do you have shows scheduled right now?
I just finished my last string because we're moving into a series of recording things that I'm about to do.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get those done over the next 2 months, and then we're going to start back up again with shows.
Okay. Did you do hardly any shows or mini shows during COVID?
I played.
You did some?
Yeah, I played as much as people would have me. I played.
Okay.
When you do this for a living, like, just because everybody else can work from home doesn't mean you can. So it's poverty or going to work. Mm-hmm. So I would work wherever they would have me.
Okay.
I didn't have a choice. So.
Yeah. Do you tour outside Kansas City?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done quite a bit outside of Kansas City. I really enjoy the Midwest. I mean, that's where I found people really they're just the nicest people. Mm-hmm. So I've done quite a bit out of the Midwest, and I've done a lot of work in Nashville over the last few years, kind of building that up and stuff like that. But we're about to head outside of Kansas City probably for the first time this coming year. Hit the Southwest, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a slow mover, man. I'm a turtle.
Oh, that's great. Good stuff. Well, I'd love for you to share some songs with us.
Sure.
So
I can do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. What do you think you want to do?
I don't know. Probably a song called The Old Ways and one called Rhinestone World.
Okay.
That'll fit me well today, probably.
Good stuff.
Yeah. This song is called The Old Ways. Wake up at sunrise, I make my cup of coffee, read a paper I can hold with my 2 hands. I get my baby out the front door for the day. I make up the bed, leave the bottles on the back porch for the milkman. And I keep hearing about the good old days. I just want a piece of land that can't be stolen. My Uncle Sam, a few chickens in the front yard, a night sky with only stars, a good old treasury dial, hang my laundry on the line. Turns out the old ways are the best ways sometimes. Handwrite my letters and I pay with cold hard cash. Sing along with AM country radio. And yeah, I'll sew my own blue jeans and have dinner around the table and wear this wedding band till I'm called home. And I keep hearing about the good old days, and I just want a piece of land that can be stolen. My Uncle Sam, a few chickens in the front yard, a night sky with only stars, a good old treasury dial, hang my laundry on the line. Turns out the old ways are the best ways sometimes. Use it up, wear it out, I'll make it do without. It ain't old fashioned, it's just common sense. And I just want a piece of land that can't be stolen by Uncle Sam on the outskirts of a small town where I can watch the sun go down. A good old treasury dial, hang my laundry on the line. Turns out the old ways are the best
Sometimes I wake up at sunrise, make my cup of coffee, read a paper I can hold with my two hands.
All right. Thank you so much, Sara, for your music, for being on our podcast at Spirituality Adventures. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We are so excited to be with you today, and we'll see you next time. This concludes today's episode. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember to like, share, or subscribe to the social media platform that you're using. And then go to our website, spiritualityadventures.com, and make a one-time donation, or you can subscribe monthly and receive our special bonus content. Thanks so much.